title changes, returns, draftees, whatever, being drafted to new shows, potential breakups. It's all happening on tonight's SmackDown, the first night of the draft night, day 1. 4 rounds on this SmackDown episode. Which, this episode was up and down, mixed bag. Good first hour, second hour really fell off, but the main event, I liked the main event, it made sense. But as I said, it's an intro to the show. A lot of surprises. This is Aaron Entertainment, and I'm going to go through them with all of you. So sit back and listen and enjoy the review. So first things first, round 1 starts. And we got Stephanie McMahon coming out to SmackDown to announce the first round of the WWE Draft. Now, only certain wrestlers were allowed in the SmackDown pool for tonight, and then the rest of the wrestlers will be in the Raw pool. This doesn't mean that the people on Raw pool get drafted, or on Raw, or the SmackDown wrestlers are in the SmackDown pool get drafted to SmackDown. It means just eligible wrestlers are allowed to get drafted, are able to be drafted to SmackDown. These eligible wrestlers are allowed, or names are only on SmackDown, but they could be drafted to Raw or SmackDown. And the rest of the wrestlers are not on the SmackDown show list or on the Raw show list are eligible to get drafted to SmackDown or Raw. So the first round comes out. The first draft pick is Raw, Drew McIntyre. Okay, obvious. Drew McIntyre's not changing. SmackDown, Roman Reigns. Obviously, that's not changing. Then we got the Women's Championship of Raw Women's Championship. Asuka staying. But, for the first time in history, Seth Rollins has been drafted to SmackDown. He's never been drafted to SmackDown since the brand split in 2016. So this is the first time Seth Rollins will be drafted to SmackDown. And yeah. And surprisingly, some people he's in a rivalry with, I'll tell you later. So at the end, and in the 5th pick, remember Raw gets 3 picks in each round because it's a longer show, so it's a larger roster. The Hurt Business, all 4 members get drafted to Raw. The Hurt Business because they're mixing the feud retribution. So that's the first round, as you can see in the pictures before this video. So one major thing, the Monday Night Messiah, Seth Rollins was a Friday night SmackDown. Now it's going to be called a Friday Night Messiah. Next, we get to get Falls Count Anywhere match between Sheamus and Big E of the New Day. Right? Now, remember, Sheamus took out Big E a couple weeks ago and took him out. Big E was out for a while. And Big E needed to get his revenge. He beat him at a Payback. Beat Sheamus at Payback, but the rivalry didn't end there. So it looks like the conclusion to this match ends here. And it's a Falls Count Anywhere match, so they can pin anywhere inside the arena. And they do go everywhere. There's one point in the match where they're outside. Big E hands are tied. He was on the apron, so he was like this. And Sheamus took out a candlestick. There's been candlesticks everywhere this wrestling lately in WWE. And Sheamus smacked him with the candlestick multiple times. Right? And then there's one point when Sheamus is looking to get something underneath the ring. He goes deep underneath the ring. His legs were out. Big E recovered. Big E managed to find tape and taped Big E's legs together. Right? Big E got a candlestick. And Sheamus was struggling to stand up because his legs were tied to each other. And Big E was hitting him with the candlestick. Right? And so they go to backstage area. Sheamus has advantage in this near catering area. And all of a sudden, there's eggs, and Sheamus uses eggs on a Big E, and Big E is filled with egg whites and yolk all over. They go to the parking lot. Big E has the advantage. All of a sudden, Sheamus found a tire iron and used it on Big E. And you know how strong that is. It's metal. It's metal, right? Obviously. Sheamus picked up Big E. Like when he took up Big E like a week or a month ago, weeks in a month or towards a month ago, he gave him the Santa Cross, not the Santa Cross, his move he does onto the windshield. He did it again here, but Big E kicked out, right? There was one point when Big E, like Sheamus thought he had his wand. There was a trunk. He opened the trunk, Sheamus, put Big E in there. He pulled out Big E's arm. It looks like Sheamus is going to smash the trunk door onto Big E's arm, but Big E managed to recover and he lifted his leg to block the trunk door, and he got the advantage over Sheamus. And this is where it all changed. Big E got the advantage. They go to a hood of a car, and there's a table on the side. Big E gets him in the finishing move, the book ending, off the hood of the car onto the table, and he gets the win, the 1, 2, 3. And after that, Big E was being interviewed. Now someone on the left comes. It turns out to be Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston's back. And on the right, with the mask, takes the mask off. Xavier Woods is back. New Day is back. Or are they? That's the question for later on tonight. Next we have Jey Uso out of the ring, calling out the big dog to come out of the ring. All of a sudden Paul Heyman's voice, you can be heard. So it says, Jey, stop embarrassing yourself. Your trouble, Chief. And you see Roman Reigns appear in the Jumbotron, sitting down like a head of the family, like a mob boss. Head of the family, you know, the Godfather. But in this case, the Tribal Chief, because that's what the story is. He says he's trying to teach him he loves him. He's trying to show him but he disrespected him and stuff like that. He still says he still loves him. All he had to do was acknowledge him at Night of Champions, the Clash of Champions, and at Hell in a Cell. There will be consequences. And the thing is, the way he said it was so. What was the word I'm looking for? Intimidating, if you ask me. This is what makes Roman Reigns a great heel. Every word that's spoken from him, he sounds scary. He sounds like you need to worry about this guy, and you do. And Jey Uso needs to worry about this guy because what Roman Reigns did to this match, instead of making a traditional Hell in a Cell match where you get pinned or submit or right, he changed it a bit. It's still a Hell in a Cell match, but he decided to make it an I Quit match. So what I think is happening, right? He's going to be starting in Hell in a Cell, but he's going to give his cousin Jey Uso a huge beating to a point where Jey Uso has no choice to say I quit. They can use a cell structure, they can use, if they go outside, they can pass on the cells, whatever they can use. To a point where Jey Uso has no choice to say I quit, because remember, his twin brother, Jey Uso's twin brother, Jimmy, the one who threw in the towel. It means Jey Uso never quit, never acknowledged Roman Reigns. And this is where it means that Roman Reigns has to get from Jey Uso this time. No DQ, no throwing the towels, no choice at all. The only way to end this match is for him to say I quit, and by Jey Uso saying I quit, it means to acknowledge Roman Reigns as the Tribal Chief. I like it a lot. Now we get to round 2 of the draft, and here is round 2. I'll show you the picture. So with round 2, we start off with the first pick going back to Raw, because Raw gets 3 picks. AJ Styles is going to Raw. Remember he was on Raw earlier this year and got traded to SmackDown. Now he's going back to Raw. He did cut a promo from home. Done with Sami Zayn, down with Jeff Hardy. He's going to make a new name for himself on Raw. Okay. Sasha Banks gets drafted by SmackDown, so she's staying on SmackDown. Naomi, who's out right now, surprisingly gets drafted to Raw. Usually in WWE they want to keep couples together, but in this case, since they're all in Orlando, it makes sense here. So Naomi goes to Raw. Now, here's a good move for Bianca Belair. She gets drafted to SmackDown. She has so much potential, so much star power that they could build her up on SmackDown better than Raw. So this is a good move for Bianca Belair. And Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax get drafted to Raw. They're the women's tag team champions, so they can appear on any brand right now. Like, what happens if one of them, if they didn't do the team things, right? But they're still tag team champions. What happens if Shayna Baszler or Nia Jax, each of them gets drafted to Raw or SmackDown, and they're still tag team champions, right? They can still do that, right? They can still do that. Each of them could be drafted to a separate brand, but still be tag team champions together for the time being until they lose the titles, right? They can still do that, but they didn't do it here, so they got both drafted to Raw. AJ Styles cut a promo from home. As I said it before, yeah. So we have a match, tag team match, between The Miz and Morrison versus Jeff Hardy and Matt Riddle. Apparently there was a scuffle backstage earlier in the day between these two teams. This match was very short. Matt Riddle got the win with the Bull Derek, alright? And all of a sudden this music hits. I realized it was music. I'm like, oh my god, it's Lars Sullivan, the freak, he's back. And I'm not surprised because, I'm not surprised he's coming back because I seen him on Instagram photos of him working out in the gym after his injury, recovering. Apparently on Fightful he was supposed to come back in June, but they held him off until now. So Lars Sullivan is back. Remember when in early 2009 he was beating up everybody. They were building him up strong. Apparently on Fightful, if you're a Patreon, I don't want to spoil anything, so buy Patreon. They were building him up for a big match with someone. You'd be surprisingly know who they were building him up against. So he came out, beat up Riddle, beat up Jeff Hardy, and I thought he was just gonna beat up the heels, right? He didn't care to beat up. Morrison was trying to pull out the Miz, but with his strength, Lars Sullivan pulled the Miz from Morrison and beat up Jeff Hardy. Gave him the finishing move. I forget what it's called, but I remember him doing that move. And yeah, Lars Sullivan is back. And before round 3, Stephanie McMahon confirmed that Lars Sullivan will be on the Raw draft pool. Stephanie McMahon announces that Lars Sullivan will be on the Raw draft pool. So now we're up to round 3. With Raw getting the first pick again, as always. Ricochet is going to Raw, stays on Raw. Jey Uso stays on SmackDown. Okay. Mandy Rose stays on Raw. She went to Raw, remember, a couple months ago when The Miz got her on to Raw, somehow manipulated, uses power to get her to Raw, to break up the relationship between her and Otis. And here's the surprising thing. Remember Seth Rollins got drafted to SmackDown. We think this thing is over. But Ray and Dominic Mysterio both get drafted to SmackDown. Now I'm saying something interesting. There's a thing with Seth Rollins continues. What happens with Buddy Murphy and Aaliyah on Raw? Buddy Murphy's in the Raw draft. But what happens with that? Does this thing continue on SmackDown? And here's the thing: The Miz and Morrison now get drafted to Raw. Remember, The Miz specifically is in the middle of a lawsuit with Otis, the worst storyline on SmackDown. Yeah. So Raw's getting a boost in the SmackDown picture, the title tag team picture right now. We'll see what happens on Raw with the pool, and there's another surprising tag team that's going to Raw. I'll talk about later. Now, this is where WWE tricked us, and people are disappointed. People are very disappointed. This is where WWE tricked us. Remember, last week, Sasha Banks made it clear that the title match was going to happen this week, right? And so forth. Because the title match is happening this week. Bayley is defending her SmackDown Women's title against her former best friend, Sasha Banks. Well, this match did happen. Sasha Banks did attack Bayley before the bell rang, whatever. Sasha Banks is trying to end this match early. The bank statement. Let's get that out of the way. At one point, she got the bank statement on Bayley. She got the bank statement on Bayley again. The submission. Bayley's foot was touching the rope. She climbs out of the ring. And you know how Bayley always comes out with a steel chair, right? She grabbed the steel chair and hit Sasha Banks in the stomach, getting disqualified. So Sasha Banks wins the match, but Bayley retains the title because she got herself disqualified. Bayley was going to go hit Sasha Banks with table, but Sasha Banks managed to see it coming. That's the chair. See it coming. She managed to get the chair. Hit Bayley in the back a couple times, 3 or 4 times. She was going to do the exact same thing that Bayley did to her by putting her neck through the chair. And when Bayley was on the ground and her neck was through the chair, Sasha Banks was going to turn up and jump on her, right? But Bayley managed to free herself, and a bunch of referees come out to break it up, and you see Bayley outside the ring, beating a little bit on the ground. Referee gives her towel, she grabs it, as you can see in the picture there. So and okay, I'm gonna add this picture to it. So later in the night, Sasha Banks is backstage. She's like, "I'm tired of playing a game with Bayley. At Hell in a Cell, we're gonna have a Hell in a Cell match." And remember, Sasha Banks was the first ever women's Hell in a Cell match with Charlotte. A great match. So these two are gonna duke it out at Hell in a Cell. And yeah, there's 3 Hell in a Cell matches, even though one is I Quit. I would change the Hell in a Cell match, I Quit match, to just regular I Quit match, but they're doing 3 in the Hell in a Cell matches, which is, to me, is an overkill. I think a lot of people think it's overkill, but they're doing a stipulation to Roman Reigns Jey Uso match. But does it need to be Hell in a Cell if it has a stipulation like that? I don't know. So yeah, Sasha Banks, Bayley, Hell in a Cell match at Hell in a Cell. So Stephanie announced there's going to be a tag team match. The returning New Day to face Shinsuke, Nakamura, and Cesaro for the SmackDown tag team titles, which is a very solid match. New Day won this match. It was Xavier Woods and Kofi Kingston. They returned, obviously that makes sense because Big E already had that match. Take on Shinsuke, Nakamura, and Cesaro. Kofi did hit the Trouble in Paradise and Cesaro knocked him out of the ring. They get the advantage on Shinsuke. Shinsuke was on the ground. Xavier Woods climbed up the ropes, climb up the turnbuckle, and then climb on the ropes. You know that movie does. He goes on the ropes. And there's a long elbow drop from a distance. Very good distance. He managed to jump him with the elbow drop onto Shinsuke and gets the pin 1, 2, 3, and new SmackDown Tag Team Champions. But here's a shocker: the final round of the draft on night 1, day 1. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, new SmackDown champions, get drafted to Raw. And Kofi and Xavier was like, "What about Big E? Big E?" And SmackDown drafts Big E, and they all look confused. They don't look happy. I'll get to that later. And then Raw drafts Dana Brooke because she's in a tag team with Mandy Rose. We know that. SmackDown keeps Otis. Makes sense. She's middle of a lawsuit, a stupid storyline. And Raw gets Angel Garza, who's currently hurt. It looks like he's booking with Angel Garza. But the story here is Big E, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, New Day. Are they broken up? Or maybe they're gonna say, you know what? You do your thing, we do our thing. The Big E will get and New Day will get all the good on other brands. Maybe, or maybe not. I know they want to go Big E with a solo career. I think Kofi and Xavier Woods is good as a tag team. But they're SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Maybe the Profits lose the Raw. I don't know. Wait a minute. What are you going to do with the Raw Tag Team Champions? Profits. You get drafted to SmackDown? I think they get drafted to SmackDown. But do the Raw Tag Team Champions and SmackDown Tag Team Champions trade belts? I don't know. But this is bigger. With the New Day broken up, who knows? And here's a picture of them looking disappointed. So earlier in the show we see Alexa coming up to Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens has a match with the Fiend. Alexa's like, "Let him in, Kevin." This is a short storyline, but this is the main event for SmackDown. Kevin Owens and the Fiend. The Fiend comes out first. Kevin Owens comes out second. The Fiend doesn't sell most in the majority of the match. Kevin Owens gets an early advantage. Santon into the Fiend. It doesn't do any damage. Fiend dominates. Kevin Owens gives him Sister Abigail onto the table. The table doesn't break. Kevin Owens managed to get some super kicks in. It doesn't phase the Fiend, but gets a move in. It does phase the Fiend. Gets him in there. Santon. They're outside again. Power bomb spot that onto the table, that pop-up power bomb spot that botched the first time. I think it's a botch. And so they decided to do a second time, which worked. Kevin Owens successfully did a pop-up power bomb the second time to the Fiend right away. The table broke, and the Fiend, a couple seconds, gets up right away. You know how the Fiend is. Fiend goes for the mandible claw. Kevin Owens manages to. And there's there's another point in the match where the Fiend has advantage. Kevin Owens has advantage. He's on the apron. The Fiend's on the ground, and Kevin Owens has splashed off the apron to the Fiend. Okay, but I'll get back to the ending. So Fiend has him in the mandible claw. Kevin Owens kicks him, gives him the stunner. But the Fiend all of a sudden gives him the mandible claw again. Right? Gives him the origami move that the Fiend does, and also Jay White does. But with his origami, he keeps his mouth in the face of the Fiend with the pin. 1, 2, 3. The Fiend wins, as we all expect. This is his first match on live TV, not on a pay-per-view or on a WWE network for the Bray Wyatt's Fiend. You see the Fiend walk up to the end of the end. And the lights turn out. The Fiend. Okay, the show ends. The lights turn out dark and becomes red. Blah blah blah. The Fiend stuff. And then the lights pop up and you see Alexa Bliss and the Fiend standing and looking at each other. And then for a few seconds, you know the storyline. I like this. Then they turn to look at Kevin Owens, who is struggling, drooling, whatever, to end the show. So that's the day for night 1. A lot of surprises, a lot of returns, shocking, questionable stuff. The show was, first hour was good, second hour was confusing as hell. But the main event was good. But first, before I end this, I'm going to let you know there's a few things you need to know. So the poster draft is all picture up for tonight. Remember next Monday, the rest of the eligible draftees. And 2 matches next week. For some reason, Roman Reigns is defending the Universal title against Braun Strowman next week's SmackDown. Obviously the Papa rating, I guess. And a 6-man tag team match, a New Day. Yeah, New Day with Big E. Taking on Shinsuke, Nakamura, Cesaro, and Sheamus all next week on SmackDown. And before I post those pictures up, I'd just like to say, like, comment, subscribe, and tell me, did you like SmackDown or not? Thank you.